Have you ever wished you could remember everything effortlessly, like the character in the movie Limitless? While we can't offer a magical pill, we can share practical tips to enhance your memory. Whether it's for acing exams or remembering names at a party, these techniques will help you retain information better and longer. Stay tuned to learn how to supercharge your brain. Welcome to Mind Matters Daily, where we delve into 11 proven strategies to boost your memory quickly. Understanding memory loss. It begins by likening the brain to a hard drive in a computer. This comparison is meant to help the reader visualize the brain as a storage device with limited capacity. Just as a computer can only store a finite amount of data before needing to delete or overwrite old files, the brain also has limitations on how much information it can hold and process effectively. Reference to Sherlock Holmes. To further illustrate the concept, the author brings up Sherlock Holmes, a fictional detective known for his keen observational and deductive abilities. Holmes famously mentions in the stories written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle that he chooses to forget trivial information to keep his mind uncluttered and ready to focus on more critical details. This example is used to show that selective forgetting can be a strategic advantage. Prioritization by the brain. It explains that, similar to Holmes, the brain prioritizes which information to retain and which to forget. This selective memory process is not a flaw, but a sophisticated mechanism to manage cognitive resources efficiently. By forgetting less useful information, the brain avoids becoming overwhelmed by unnecessary details. Preventing information overload. The idea of preventing information overload is key. Information overload can reduce the effectiveness of memory and cognitive processing, leading to confusion and diminished ability to make decisions. By forgetting non-essential information, the brain preserves its ability to focus and function optimally, keeping memory sharp for important information. Finally, the conclusion of this study is that this selective forgetting helps keep the memory sharp for what truly matters. By not cluttering the mind with every piece of data encountered, the brain can perform at its best when it comes to recalling and using important information. The science behind forgetting. It begins with a striking fact. Shortly after learning new information, more than half of it is forgotten within the first hour. This assertion sets the stage for discussing the natural and common tendency of our memories to lose details quickly unless the information is actively reviewed or reinforced. Hermann Ebbinghaus and the forgetting curve. Hermann Ebbinghaus, a German psychologist, is credited with studying and formalizing this observation into what is known as the forgetting curve. Ebbinghaus conducted experiments on himself to observe how quickly he forgot information over time. His research quantitatively demonstrated how memory retention declines exponentially over time when there is no attempt to retain the information. Details of the forgetting curve theory. According to Ebbinghaus's theory, if new information isn't actively reviewed after learning, retention drops drastically to about 30% by the next day. This curve illustrates that without reinforcement, the majority of learned information can fade from memory in a very short period, highlighting the challenge of retaining new knowledge. Optimism in memory. Retention strategies. This concludes on a positive note, reassuring the reader that despite the discouraging nature of the forgetting curve, there are effective strategies to beat it. This suggests that through techniques such as repetition, active recall, spaced repetition, and perhaps mnemonic devices, individuals can significantly improve how much they remember in the long term. Overall, this study introduces the reader to a fundamental concept in cognitive psychology while also providing a hopeful outlook that, Although our brains are prone to forget quickly, there are established methods to enhance and extend memory retention. Learn the material. The first step is straightforward. Acquire the initial understanding or knowledge of the material you need to memorize. This could involve reading, listening, or observing the content carefully until you feel you have grasped the basic ideas. Immediate review. Shortly after the initial learning, within 15 to 20 minutes, you should review what you've just learned. This immediate review helps consolidate the initial memory trace of the new information. Reinforcing the material shortly after learning is crucial because, as mentioned in earlier discussions on memory, much of the newly acquired information can be lost within the first hour without this step. First, delayed review. After taking a short break, the next review comes 6 to 8 hours later. This allows some time for the information to begin settling into memory, and this delayed recall effort forces your brain to retrieve and strengthen the memory connections associated with the material. Engaging with the content after a few hours helps to build a more durable memory, as this timing works well with the natural decline in memory retention illustrated by the forgetting curve. Second, delayed review. The final step in this strategy is to review the material again 24 hours after the initial learning session. This last review further solidifies the information in your long-term memory, countering the steep drop in retention that typically occurs within the first day after learning new material. Spaced repetition strategy. The overall approach described is an application of spaced repetition, a learning technique that involves increasing intervals of time between subsequent reviews of previously learned material to exploit the psychological spacing effect. Spaced repetition is highly effective for memorization because it optimizes the cognitive process of reinforcing memory traces each time the material is recalled. This method is particularly beneficial for last-minute studying because it maximizes recall in a short period. In summary, this strategy provides a clear and structured method for quick memorization, ideal for situations like exam preparation where time is limited and efficient learning is necessary. By following this method, learners can significantly improve their chances of retaining important information when it matters most. Long-term memorization strategies. The first step is to review the material right after the initial learning session. This immediate review helps fix the information more firmly in your memory by reinforcing the details while they are still fresh. It combats the natural tendency to forget a significant portion of new information shortly after learning it. Review after 20-30 minutes. The second review, conducted after a short delay of about 20 to 30 minutes, targets the steep decline in memory retention that occurs within the first few hours. This review helps consolidate the memory further, ensuring that the foundational connections in the brain are strengthened before significant forgetting occurs. Review the next day. Reviewing the material on the following day addresses the critical drop-off point in the forgetting curve that typically happens after one day. This step is crucial for transitioning information from short-term to more stable, long-term memory, reinforcing the neural pathways associated with the new knowledge. Review in 2 to 3 weeks. The fourth review, spaced a few weeks after the initial learning, allows the brain to refresh the memory connections that may have begun to weaken. This longer interval helps in enhancing the durability of the memory, as each act of recall strengthens the information's resistance to being forgotten. Review in 2 to 3 months. The final step in the strategy involves reviewing the material a few months later. This long gap ensures that the memory is revisited and reconsolidated, making it even more permanent. This step is vital for deep long-term retention and helps in establishing the information as something that the brain deems necessary to keep. Psychological effect on perceived importance. The method operates on the principle that revisiting information at strategically increasing intervals convinces the brain of the importance of the content. Since the brain is more likely to retain what it perceives as valuable or frequently used information, this method leverages that natural tendency by frequent retrieval, which signals to the brain that the information must be preserved for future use. In summary, this long-term memorization strategy is designed to exploit the natural processes of memory formation and forgetting, using the spacing effect to maximize retention. By following these steps, learners can effectively transfer and maintain knowledge in long-term memory, ensuring that it remains accessible over extended periods. This approach is especially useful for learners who need to remember information accurately for exams, professional certifications, or lifelong skills. Top 11 memory tips. 1. Understand before memorizing. Emphasizes the importance of comprehension over rote memorization. When you understand material in your own words, you're engaging with it more deeply, making it easier to recall later because it's integrated into your existing knowledge. 2. Prioritize information. Encourages focusing on essential details and discarding trivial ones. This selective attention helps to manage cognitive load, ensuring that important information is retained while less important details are filtered out. 3. Leverage the serial position effect. Utilizes a psychological phenomenon where individuals tend to remember the first, primacy effect, and last, recency effect, items in a series best. Structuring study sessions to take advantage of these effects can enhance recall. 4. Avoid interference. Suggests switching between different topics to prevent confusion between similar pieces of information. This tactic helps to keep distinct data sets separate in your memory, reducing errors caused by interference. 5. Learn opposites. Together proposes learning, contrasting concepts in pairs like day and night. This associative learning enhances recall by building connections between related concepts, making it easier to remember one when you think of the other. 6. Create a mind palace. This is a mnemonic device where you associate information with specific locations in a familiar place. By mentally navigating this palace, you can recall information more reliably by visualizing its location. 7. Use nail words. Involves connecting new vocabulary or concepts with related, already known terms. This method helps anchor new information to existing knowledge, facilitating easier retrieval. 8. Weave a story. Turning information into a narrative creates a more engaging and memorable way to recall data. Stories are easier to remember than disjointed facts because they are structured and meaningful. 9. Record and replay. Using auditory learning by recording information and replaying it reinforces memory through repeated exposure and auditory encoding, which can be particularly useful for auditory learners. 10. Visualize engages not just the mind but the body in the learning process, suggesting that physical action or imagining physical action, mental visualization, can reinforce memory. This method is based on the principle that engaging more senses can enhance memory. 11. Select quality resources. Stresses the importance of using reliable and up-to-date materials for learning. Quality sources ensure that the information is accurate, which is crucial for building a correct and effective knowledge base. Together, these 11 tips provide a comprehensive toolkit for improving memory retention, offering various techniques to suit different learning styles and situations. These strategies not only help in memorizing information more effectively, but also in recalling it more accurately and efficiently when needed. Try these techniques and see how much more you can remember. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more helpful tips. Drop your experiences and any additional tips you have in the comments below. Let's keep learning together.